My name is Utkarsh Tiwari. I am a B.Tech third year student of Food Engineering and Technology Department, Tejpur University. Today I am going to give a presentation on the topic NCCP and its role and functions in India. So, before knowing what NCCP is and what are its functions in India, let's talk about the Codex Alimentarius. The Codex Alimentarius or Food Code is a collection of standards, guidelines, and codes of practices adopted by the Codex Alimentarius Commission, also known as the CAC. The commission known as the CAC is a central part of the joint FAO and WHO Food Standards Program and was established by FAO and WHO to protect consumer health and promote fair practices in food trade. The mandate or the main functions of the Codex Alimentarius Commission are to establish international food standards for the protection and health of consumers and to ensure fair practices in the food trade. The Codex Alimentarius covers all foods, whether processed, semi-processed or raw. In addition to the standards of specific foods, the Codex Alimentarius contains general standards covering matters such as food labeling, food hygiene, food additives, and pesticide residues, and also procedures for assessing the food safety of foods that are derived from modern biotechnology techniques. It also contains guidelines for the management of officials, that is, government import and export, inspection and certification systems for food. Now let us talk about the National Codex Contact Point. What are its functions? In general, the Codex Contact Point plays a very important role in the management of Codex activities at the national level. Given the range and breadth of Codex programs, sound structure and system at the national level are essential to support effective coordination at national level and advancement of national interests in Codex. This document sets out the structures and procedures that are essential to support efficient management and operation of Codex Contact Point at the national level. The FSSAI, which comes under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, has been designated as the nodal point for liaison with the Codex Alimentarius Commission. The National Codex Contact Point has been constituted by the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India for keeping in check with the CAC and to coordinate Codex activities in India. Now, as I have mentioned several times, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, it is a government body and it has many functions and procedures under it. But to summarize what the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India does, its basic functions are: it oversees the entire food chain from food farm to table. It gives the assurance that only safe foods are placed in the market. It relies on the data-based intelligence of surveillance and monitoring, hence its predictive and preventive control system. The FSSAI promotes shared responsibilities with food business by linking them to public health goals. It also enables compliance through improvement notices and by addressing training gaps. The FSSAI implies science-based standards, that is, the minimum effective regulations. They do this through a safety assessment process and by establishing risk-assessed standards and guidelines through the supply chain, namely production, manufacturing, import, distribution, and sale. Several bodies whose roles and functions are mandated under the FSSAI Act 2006 work collaboratively under a scientific risk assessment framework. Let us talk about the shadow committees of NCC India. The Food Authority has appointed the shadow committees of the NCC on the subject matters corresponding to the Codex committees to assist the NCC in the study of consideration of technical matters. So, the Codex committees have branches in different fields that assist the National Codex Committee in the following areas. There is the Codex Alimentarius Commission, the Executive Committee of the Codex Alimentarius Commission, the Regional Coordinating Committee, the General Principles of the NCCP, food labeling, methods of analysis and sampling, food hygiene, food additives, containments in food, food export and import and certification system, nutrition and food for special dietary uses, fish and fishery products, fats and oils, fresh fruits and vegetables, processed fruits and vegetables, milk and milk products. The shadow committees help the NCCP to formulate regulations in all these departments and assist in taking decisions. Now, what is the constitution of a shadow committee? The composition of individual Codex shadow committee varies and depends upon the expertise in the relevant field. Each shadow committee is constituted by various stakeholders as follows. There are representatives from different ministries such as Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Food Processing and Department of Animal Husbandry, and also dairy fisheries, concerned with food safety, food production, and trading food. There are also representatives from scientific organizations such as public universities and research institutes. There are representatives from industry associations. Also, there are experts or scientists from concerned areas. Now, let us in short talk about the basic functions of the shadow committees. The basic functions of the shadow committees is to advise the NCCP and NCC on the implications of various food standardization, food quality, and safety issues which have arisen and related to the work undertaken by the relevant subsidiary bodies, so that the national economic interest is taken into account or considered when international standards are deliberated by the relevant committee. It also follows the Codex agenda of the relevant subsidiary body and provides inputs to the government so as to assist and ensure quality and safety of food to the consumers, while at the same time safeguard national interests and maximize the opportunities for development of industry and expansion of international trade. It also has to advise on the capacity building, food safety, food regulation, and also assist the NCCP on technical issues. It also has to do any other work assigned by the National Codex Committee and the chairman of the National Codex Committee from time to time. Now, after talking about the functions, let us talk about the responsibilities of the shadow committees. There are basically these 4 responsibilities that can summarize what the shadow committees do. It is to study Codex documents, collect and revise all relevant information relating to technology, economics, health and control system, as to give supporting reasons to the government in acceptance of Codex standards or otherwise. It has to formulate national positions in consultation with the members of the shadow committee with respect to the agenda for the forthcoming sessions or meetings of the subsidiary body of the CAC, and forward the same NCCP for sending it to the Codex Secretariat after the approval of the government. It has to finalize the delegation for the meeting of the Codex in consultation with the NCCP and transmit the names to the host secretariat through the NCCP. It also has to recommend to the NCCP the position to be taken during the sessions of the Commission with respect to agenda items relevant to the terms of reference of the shadow committees. Now, we come to the Nccp-India. Firstly, we shall talk about its core functions. Now, the NCCP shall perform the following core functions. It acts as a link between the Codex Secretariat, National Codex Committee, and the Shadow Committee. It coordinates all relevant codex activities in India. It receives all codex final texts that are standards, codes of practice, guidelines, and other advisory texts, and working documents of codex session, and ensure that these are circulated to those concerned. It also sends comments on codex documents or proposals to the Codex Alimentarius Commission on its subsidiary bodies and or the Codex Secretariat within the time frame. It acts as a channel for the exchange of information and coordination of activities with other country Codex members. It receives invitations to Codex sessions and informs the relevant chairperson and the Codex Secretariat of the names of participants representing our country. It maintains a library of Codex standards, code of practice, guidelines, and any other documents and publication unrelated to the Codex. Its main agenda is to promote Codex activities throughout the country. It also has to build capacity in country to effectively take up Codex work. Now, what are the responsibilities of Nccp-India? In order to be able to discharge its functions, the NCCP shall have the following responsibilities. It undertakes secretariat responsibilities to the National Codex Committee. It acts as a contact point for the country for maintaining liaisons with Codex Secretariat in elaborating international food standards. It collects, procures, and analyzes data for elaborating international food standards. Keeps tracks of international food standards work and give comments and data to ensure that international food standards are practicable for local manufacturers and do not hinder exports of food. It also encourages food manufacturers to improve quality and hygiene management to meet requirements of international food standards. It disseminates information of food standards and food laws to relevant government agencies, primary producers, manufacturers, exporters, consumers, and concerned organizations. It undertakes study and research work to solve any problem resulting from the elaboration of international food standards. Now, the NCCP has the main task to promote this codex activities at the national level. The National Codex Contact Point has an important role in promoting knowledge and understanding of codex at the national level. The actions include: first, organizing national workshops for stakeholders aimed at improving awareness of codex and providing guidance on how to get involved in codex or international standard work. Secondly, it is to promote understanding of codex standards and their relevance for health protection and trade, and how countries use them in development of national standards and codes of practices. So, this is the end of my presentation. I discussed about how the National Codex Contact Point comes under the FSCI and helps CAC to be implied in India. It also has the shadow committees in different fields which assist the NCCP in taking decisions and working towards a common goal, that is to fulfill international standards in our country. The FSSAI works with the NCCP hand in hand to see that the international standards of food is fulfilled in India, and the NCCP works accordingly in coordination with the Codex Alimentarius Commission. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you.